Bless up for tuning in to Project Chaney. Magic happens when you question everything. Conspirituality becomes reality, weirdness is welcomed, and it's okay to change your mind. Big up yourself.
Hey, you guys. Welcome back to another episode of Project Chaney. As always, I am Chaney, and this week I have with me MyMaria777, and I'm pretty excited to get into it because it's actually one of the first episodes that I've done where I recorded it this week. I'm doing the intro for you guys this week, and I'm going to get it out today. So, yeah, it's pretty up to date and recent and whatever. Me hanging out with one of my close friends, and it's pretty rad. Anyway, so I'm going to start this out like Tina Turner, if you've ever listened to her live version of Proud Mary, where she's like, every now and then you want to do things nice and slow, and then every now and then you want to do things fast and whatever. I don't even know. I'm not going to do a Tina Turner impression, but I figured I'd start off hot and then kind of mellow out before I go into my Maria. So the first thing I want to fucking talk about, I hate a Tiger King. I hate something that goes viral that intelligent and or seemingly funny people I know follow prey to. The Bernie mittens would be a hacky, perfect example of it. Just makes the comic in me nauseous to watch people think they're one, being funny, and then two, that they're creating they're grabbing the pop song at number 3 and they're going to help push it to number 1, and they believe they have something to do with it because of their good taste in music, but in all actuality it was picked for them to be the spread, to spread whatever that they're totally unaware of. And Tiger King, I'm sure if you look that back up into ancient gods and everything like that, it has something to do with one of their weird religions, the evil they. And if you looked up into Bernie mittens, Bernie man, burning, what else does that have to do with? I don't know, but everything's a spell to me. And the newest one of these that is, I'm going to keep pointing them out so you guys can realize that you aren't making things go viral. You're calling it going viral. It's all Bill Gates to me. So the newest one is people climbing up milk crates. And everybody thinks they're so clever by reposting everybody climbing up milk crates. And they're going to find the good one that makes sense or the clever one that makes sense. And you're just playing along with hacky, viral, force-fed pop songs. And it's all Black Cube of Saturn to me. I just see black cube, black cube, black cube, black cube, black cube. Oh, look at a black man trying to get to the top of a black cube. And guess what happens? He's going to fall and we're all going to laugh. I don't like that. I'm not playing along. So there's my viral annoyance of the week. And I would say don't play along either. Stop helping them make things go viral. You reposting Bernie mittens or a Tiger King is like a conscious vaccine. Like you're putting something out there that's just garbage hack material when you aren't doing anything original or clever or authentic or real. So that's how I feel about that. And that's all I have to say about that. Sorry. I just had to, I'm going to bring it up every time they happen. I don't know why they trigger me so bad. Maybe it's shadow work I need to do about viral memes. I don't know. Whatever. So there is that. And for the maskers this week, if you introduce yourself to me with a mask on, you might as well be at the Hall of Presidents. You might as well be a robot. You might as well just be like, hi, welcome to Walmart. Like I do not know your face. I'm not even going to humor you like you're the same human being. I am sorry. I'm not playing reindeer games anymore. And it's an energetic feel at this point if you're playing along in that system. We are so different, and you wearing your mask is spreading fear. And so my love bubble doesn't know how to relate to it at all. It doesn't know how to talk to it. It doesn't know how to exist in your low vibe of fear. If you're so scared to breathe air or be within 6 feet of space with me, it's stupid at this point. And that's part of the reindeer games. My human doesn't see you as human. I don't know what it is. It's energetic. I don't know if I'm the only one that feels this way, but it's real. And it doesn't even loosh me anymore. It feels like I'm talking to plastic. It doesn't even have like a negative feeling. It's just like shooting a BB gun at a drone. It doesn't give you an emotional, like, I just killed a bird. It just feels like I'm talking to a rubber tree plant. Anyway, yeah, I'm on one this week. The energy's been real. I think we're at the end of Leo season. I just think the world that we live in, wherever you're at on the planet, is so fucking ludicrous. Even in my red pill days, keeping hope, keeping my vibe high, researching, knowing stuff is actually happening. But it's happening at a glacial pace, and it is painful, and it is incensing to sit and think that we are still doing this, and there's places that are requiring travel papers to eat at their garbage restaurants, and places like, fuck your Broadway play, like screw your stimulus check, because we know that's coming too. The next stimulus check that comes, you're going to have that vaccine to get it. And I think a thing this week that's been so heavy is when I walked away from my job for masking, which was simple back then. And the people that I worked with at my company, that I'm like, this is all coming down the pipe. You know, like you think that, you know, it's just masks now, it's going to be vax tomorrow. And, you know, people are like, whatever. It's no big deal. I don't mind wearing the mask. It is what it is. We're playing safe. I'm saving grandma. I don't mind wearing the mask. 6 months later, don't mind wearing the mask. A year later, oh, well, you know, our company is going to give out free vaccines if you want it. No, I'm still good. I'll just wear my mask. I'm used to doing it for a year. Well, our company's going to give out $100 for free if you want the vaccine. What about you? You already had your vaccine. You don't get the $100? Yeah, it's bullshit. But yeah, next week, $200. Next week, this amount of money. Next week, oh, you're fired. You're not going to get the third vaccine. You're fired from your job. And we are at this wave in my life, people around me. I have a lot of friends that are having to walk away from their careers. And a lot of them are very lucrative careers. A lot of them, you know, people went to school to get bachelors and masters and PhDs to have their careers. And a lot of their ego is wrapped up in this career. And a lot of these people that I know help a lot of people in their career. They have patients, and they have, you know, people that they work with in social service or drug and rehab or nursing home or hospital settings. And they're not allowed to do their job anymore. And they're having to walk away from something that they've been doing their whole life, or something that they thought they were going to retire in, or something that really fulfills them. Sometimes it's for companies or for people that they never, ever, ever thought would fire them because they're Nazi Germany now at their workplace. And though I'm sad for all of you out there, if I'm talking directly to you and you're driving into your last day at work, or you're about to give that notice because you can't take it anymore. I've been there, and everything is going to work out, and it's very scary. But I promise you this: whatever state you live in, there, we dice apart these words, but to me, a patriot means somebody who loves their land and the people in it. And whatever state you live in, there's patriots. And those patriots have businesses. And they might be animal feed stores. They might be restaurants. They might be welding shops. They might be janitorial services. I don't know. I don't know whatever job that you went to school for or whatever job that your salary told you were better than. But we are in this place that us as Americans have to help other Americans, or us as humans have to help other humans. And some of these humans have had their businesses shut down for a year, or some of them have barely scraped by while we were all living under the New World Order of COVID-19. And they are desperate for help because the state has come in and the government has come in and given them unemployment that is almost impossible to pay. Amazon has come into all these small towns and made the minimum wage unfathomable for a small business to reach and pay. And this is all happening to these small businesses too. And the less of those small businesses that are around, the more likely it is that if you're desperate, you're going to have to go get a job at Amazon. And once you get a job at Amazon, not only are you going to need that vaccine and have to wear that mask every day and drive around a track truck and have a wristband on your arm, you lose all rights. You're now a prisoner of Amazon. So it's not our forever to go and drop off a plate of food for people or pour them a drink or sweep their sidewalk or empty their trash or dig their ditch, or I don't know, maybe you end up getting to do something super amazing and you learn a skill that you're in love with and you never thought you were ever going to learn how to build a house. And now you know how to build one from the ground up because COVID-19 kicked you out of your accountant job and you started laying foundation, and then you started putting up plywood or wood or brick or whatever, however you build a house. I just think we're in this place that we all need to reevaluate where we thought we were going out of obligation or comfort and what we maybe need to be doing for each other. And that might be this. So if you are out there, maybe look for something completely not in your field. Maybe you were 16 once and you dreamed of doing something that your mom or dad or sibling or spouse or friend told you would never like it or never be able to do it. Now's the time to try it. And there is enough hours in the day and there's enough good people out there. And, you can separate from that whole system. We don't have to take part in it. Fuck their Broadway play. Fuck their Tiger King. So, yeah. I know it sucks and it's hard and it's heartbreaking in a way when you you feel like this company or this business or this whatever, like you did your part. It feels like a relationship, like you showed up every day. And some of these people, they were showing up every day when people thought the Black Plague was out there, and just to be tossed by the wayside and feel like it doesn't all matter. It does matter. It just doesn't matter to them anymore. And we got to move on. And I have faith in you. And I have faith in myself. And I need more money. I need to get another job, but I will stay at my job and I will be the last server dropping off a plate of food or the last bartender pouring a beer, as long as my bosses will keep those doors unlocked and I don't have to put a mask on my face or a heavy metal abortion animal DNA into my arm. So, growing pains. They aren't easy. I have a friend named Jada Moon, and we always say, Jada Moon always says, if you comfortable, you ain't growing. So it's time to get uncomfortable, I guess. And I'm heeding my own advice. I'm like listening to myself say, it's time to get uncomfortable, I guess. Uncomfortable. some little weird digs I've been doing this week. I've been looking into twins a lot, mirror twins specifically. I have a good buddy of mine who's a mirror twin, and they're like twins where it would be like looking in the reflection of a mirror. So if one's right-handed, the other's left-handed. If one has a mole on their left cheek, the other one has it on their right cheek. And it's a pretty crazy phenomenon. And, we always talk about clones and cyborgs and vampires and time travelers, but we never, ever, ever talk about twins. And I just thought that would add quite a little curve to the whole story of everything. Just for example, imagine if Britney Spears is a twin. And so these videos she keeps putting up of herself, like some of them have the gap and some of them don't. And that's why she's have pictures of her like holding her tits because there's some birthmark we don't see that one of them doesn't have and one of them does. Or, certain freckles on the chest from sun damage and the other one doesn't have it. I don't know. It's just, but like, imagine if Donald Trump's a twin. Like, that's kind of mind blowing. Or Joe Biden is a twin. So any of this stuff where they're like, this is not the same Joe Biden. No, it's not. It's his twin. And if you really know a twin, like if I am with my buddy's brother, who I know, they don't look alike to me at all because I know my buddy. I know his mannerisms and his little things, and so much of them is the same, but, you just know the people you know. And sometimes with certain celebrities, we know them like that. We've seen them live so many times and perform so many times and talk so many times. So when we see this other thing, we're like, that's not them. So, I just thought it was like, what if this fun thing that may not be real or not real, but we're talking about all these crazy Mission Impossible masks on different presidents and different people that I'm like, why not twins? So, and then like Apollo and Artemis, and I get into all Artemis with the moon goddess and Diana and the Mary of it all. That's always my silver cord that I run through everything, no pun intended. Yeah, so the twins, look into it if you're bored and want something. I also got an Aleister Crowley book this week. If you've been listening to me long enough, Aleister Crowley used to be kind of a trigger of mine. Weirdly enough, I got the 777 and other Kabbalistic writings of Aleister Crowley. And so it's kind of perfect that it is on the week that it is my 21st episode. So if you add 777 together, you get 21. My birthday is 11/21 Scorpio. My first show was done with another 11/21 Scorpio, and I'm having her back this episode on my 21st episode. So the Aleister Crowley of it all. I have to look into it. It triggers me for a reason. I feel like at one point spiritually I wasn't protected enough, maybe, and that's why it always gave me these vibes of not looking into it. Now I feel okay. I'm curious, and chaos doesn't really scare me as much. I realized I kind of thrive in it, and I like to put it in order, and that's okay. I want to make the order out of chaos. So I was thinking, you guys, that's why I invited you here. I'm going to call my group the Illuminated Ones. Just kidding. Okay. I talked to you guys about the mask thing. I might as well. I am getting so irritated. I'm seeing other triggers. I keep seeing people like, when's America gonna do blank? We're waiting for America to do blank. And I've probably said it before on a million other podcasts, but I'm going to say it again. There's an amount of chill you get to have when you have an arsenal of weapons. There is an amount of calm that you get to have when you know how to use said arsenal of weapons. There's an extra amount of comfort had when you have friends that know how to use and have weapons. When you live in a state that everybody has and uses weapons, that gives you an extra amount of chill. So I would look to where you're at. And if you're mad or if you're waiting for somebody else to stand up and do your bidding, because I also hear all the time on every podcast I'm on how QAnons are just waiting for Donald Trump. QAnons are just, and I'm like, really? That's funny because the QAnons I know are literally standing at all their courthouses and city halls fighting for kids they don't even have to get them to be maskless. Why all of you black pills are what? Reposting somebody else's post about doomsday on the computer? Or I got what else the black pills are doing. You're posting every single lady or every single man and telling me how it's a lady or man. This is where we're totally lost. I got to think that's part of the grass of the trans agenda is now you're so broken, everyone's trans to you. Why are you thinking about everyone's fucking genitals all the time? Why are you thinking about it all the fucking time? If you're thinking about it all the time, they got you. They got you. So, yeah, that is my unsolicited advice. If you live in a place that you are judging somebody else because you think they're being complacent, I would say you're a projectionist and you are sitting around doing nothing. So stop blaming the QAnon kids and stop blaming Trump and stop blaming Americans and stop blaming Florida or stop blaming Texas or stop blaming DeSantis or stop blaming whoever's standing up in Colorado or stop blaming your friend who believes in Jesus. Yeah, I think it's weird how other people get so mad at other people's faith and whatever that may be, because faith is one of the most beautiful things that human beings have that no other animals possess on the planet. I mean, unless you're saying that the sheep has faith that there's going to be food inside the trough. Is that faith? Maybe. Okay. I Aleister Crowley'd you. Some of the stuff I have written on here, I'm like, I don't even know what that means. When did you write that? That's not even your handwriting. I wanted to talk to you guys before I left about, I was thinking about my own like weird psychic, telekinetic flashes, weird images of things that have happened to me in my life. And I used to have a friend named Rebecca, and she was older than me. I was like going to like therapy. I was going to maybe be a physical therapist or something one day. So I was working at a therapy company, and Rebecca was like a mentor to me. She was a speech therapist, and she was from Chicago, and she was so funny and loud, and she was Mexican, and she was all these things different of like any friend I had ever had. And I was totally a closeted lesbian at the time, and I had had a bad breakup with a girl, and I didn't want to move back in with my parents. And how could I move back in with my parents about a bad lesbian breakup? You know, I was so young. I was like maybe 18 or 19 before I went away to Michigan. And Rebecca's like, moving with me. My husband is in the military, and he's always overseas and gone, and I'm so desperately lonely, like, move in with me. And I really didn't even know her that well, but we hung out every day, and it was just this really pure, innocent friendship. In some ways it felt like this really like old-fashioned marriage, like where we ate dinner together every night and walked the dog and sat on the porch and listened to music by the fireplace. And some ways it felt like we were two 12-year-olds in a house that like, I can't believe the world gave us this much responsibility, and we can just get in a car and go get whatever we want at any time. We can go anywhere we want at any time. And it was just this probably weird cut of life for both of us. And it was just really strange. It was a strange friendship. And over the years, you know, from that, we had kept in touch. And when I was on this road trip in my 20s, she had moved to Richmond, Virginia. Her husband had gotten a job at the Pentagon, and I went and stayed with her for a couple of days. And we went to like Georgetown and saw where The Exorcist was shot, and just hung out. It was like old times. And yeah, she was just such a fucking rad person. So a few years later, I moved to Los Angeles and Los Angeles to Portland. And I'm thinking about her one day, and, Facebook is around, and I'm like, where is this girl? Why isn't she on my Facebook? I haven't seen her in forever. She's heavy on my heart. I wonder how Rebecca is. And I look her up, and I find her obituary. And it hit me in a way of like, I had one other friend with this kind of emotion before. I had a friend's older sister from high school who got murdered. And that was like something that, to deal with that kind of far away grief of somebody you hadn't talked to in a while and go through the motions of that. It was a similar experience, but Rebecca and I were real friends. She wasn't my friend's older sister. She wasn't somebody I looked up to. I mean, I did look up to her too, but she wasn't just this illusion of somebody. She was like a real somebody. And she had 2 daughters, and they were like 2 and 4. And she had gotten some rare kind of cancer. And she died in like a year. And Rich, I know I was just like saying his name, like, oh shit, like, did I? But I'm not outing anything crazy. He, raised the kids. I kind of lost touch with him over the years, but there was one night that I was just sitting in my house, and I swear to you, I was like Isaac Cappy. I heard Fire and Rain, the James Taylor song, in my head. Like, I've seen fire and I've seen rain. I've seen sunny days that I thought would never end. You guys know it. I don't want to sing the whole thing. But I heard the song clear as day, and it didn't really mean anything else to me. I just thought of Rich. I couldn't stop thinking of Rich. And it felt like the most fucking awkward thing to do in the whole world. And it was like I had words right on the tip of my tongue to say to Rich. And so I had to find him and contact him and write him. I don't even know what the note said or what the awkward energy exchange was. But I had to tell him that he needed to listen to Fire and Rain by James Taylor, and that Rebecca wanted him to. And, I never really listened to the lyrics of that song. And when I was having this whole kind of Ouroboros, I mean, I love that song. It's not that I never listened to the lyrics of it. I love that song. I love James Taylor. Rebecca introduced me to James Taylor. It's why I even had any idea of James Taylor in my life. It was like a weird Ouroboros. She never told me her and Rich had a song. She never told me anything about that stuff. But I love the part at the end of that song where what I think the lyric is, but I always thought that I'd see you again. And yeah, I had another friend this week that was kind of going through a similar thing. And reach out to the people. Look for the people. The awkwardness, you have to learn how to relish that awkward. That awkward is magic. It's so awkward feeling because it's the truth we're supposed to be living in that the MK Ultra programming has like gotten out of us or something. It's made us feel awkward to exist in our realness. And shit, you guys, that awkward is some of my closest relationships right now. Just getting over that I should not say this to anybody. I should not, like having these spiritual messages that feel peculiar and they're not your own. Anyway, so rest in peace, Rebecca. And I'm glad I got to talk about her here. So which leads me into another one of my friends right now who is very alive, maybe too alive sometimes, as if there's such a thing. MyMaria777. We have a pretty candid conversation. I planned for this interview maybe a little more than most of my interviews, because I'm like, how do I really, I've had people on the show and they were my friend when I interviewed them. But some of the interviews that you guys hear, and where we're at months later, some of the people I adore, and, I keep in touch, I think, with everybody that's been a guest on my show. But some of the people are like besties and, some of them are really dear and like kind of soul fam. And, I talked to, my Maria, even that part, the hesitation of, it's like our stage names. Well, and so, I talked to her enough and we have all these killer conversations that I guess any of them could be recorded. Then I didn't realize how awkward I was going to feel of like, us being Scorpios. We don't really love to repeat our stories, and we know we repeat our stories. It's weird to repeat them to each other. And, so it's weird to think of like a good interview of my friend. And instead, somewhere in it, I just had to be like, what is this interview? What is this? Maybe actually this is the podcast that I'm like, what is this interview all about? Maybe I need this interview is maybe not an interview. Maybe it's just a conversation. And maybe this is just kind of the feel that it's going to get more and more too, as I have more and more friends come back. And so some of it's kind of awkward and some of it's kind of funny. And we definitely go places that I haven't gone to on this podcast yet, where I wonder if are part of it. Am I like, did I totally forget we were recording? My Maria is special to me in a way. And I'm totally projecting, but I'm going to say stuff about her that's totally me too. And this is why I adore her. She's really fucking sensitive. Like, she is way, way, way more sensitive than anyone would ever guess. And she internalizes all of it. And she has the biggest crustacean, shiny scorpion exterior. And we have that exterior because we're mush inside. And we're almost addicted to feeling it all. Even the bad stuff sometimes. And it's things I kind of tease her about is like, are you addicted to breaking your own heart? Yeah, it's pretty funny. I hope you guys like the conversation. I hope you guys have a killer week. I did do a couple of interviews out there. I will be reposting those on my Instagram stories from Project Chaney. I'll be reposting those on my Instagram stories from Chaney in Wonderland. My projectchaney.com is still not doing what it should. I mean, it's fine. It's you can find all the podcast links everywhere, but it's not really busy. I want to add a t-shirt, sticker, bag section to it. I am going to start selling a little bit of merch, and it's really I'm going to get it to you as cheap as possible. I'm not trying to make $1 million on it. I'm just maybe I can get enough money to I'm going to sell stickers and totes, and then maybe eventually get enough money so I can buy enough t-shirts that I don't have to stress about sizes, and then eventually get enough money so that I can have hooded sweatshirts, zip up hoodies. That goal. Yeah. So I had a rad person say that every time I say the word being, being, B-E-I-N-G, being. So if I say sovereign being or mythological being, I say bean, B-E-A-N. And so, yeah, there might be fun clothes if you're into that sort of being. There's more to come on that later. So, oh yeah, if you want to write me anything, you can write me at projectchaney@gmail.com. And I think that's all the self-promotion I have. I hope you like the interview with MyMaria777. MyMaria, welcome back to Project Chaney. How are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
Good. I found it a little weirder to prepare for you as a guest this time than the first time, because I think you might, like, we're different kind of friends now. And I was wondering if you ever had that.
We're better friends now.
I know. It's
we
like
talk all the time now.
I know, and we were friends before, but I was wondering if, like, is that an issue? Like, do you have people on your show that the interview's different? Because you have friends on, or people that you've actually dated, or you have, like, different levels of people in your life on your show. So is it weird?
No, I don't think it's weird. I think it's been weird when I've talked to, there's this guy, not that we have really dated, I guess we dated. Who the fuck knows what that means these days? But like, hearing his perspective on dating stuff and, like, what he does and what he thinks is cool and, like, not cool, and I'm just sitting there like, you don't do any of this shit, you know? Like, so that's interesting to, like, not want to, like, call someone out the entire time. But no, as the interviewer, no, nothing. The conversation changes, but I don't think that's weird.
Isn't it different as the interviewer and interviewee?
Oh, completely different podcast experiences in that way. I love being a guest. Nobody fucking asked me to be a guest, but it's such a different dynamic for sure.
Don't you feel like it's a little more like you get a little more hospitality or something?
Well, it's an opportunity to speak sometimes more than you get to speak as the host. Because normally if you've got a great guest, you're there to, like, allow them to speak. You're just trying to kind of pull the best information out of them in the best way possible. It's not really your goal to, like, be the star in that way. And you do a little solo podcast, and that's one thing. But, you know, having someone, I'm always asking the questions. It's so ironic that you said this. I just put up a solo podcast where I was talking about how when I interact with people in real life, that, like, I'm always leading the conversation. I'm always, like, keeping the conversation going. I'm always asking the questions, and I don't ever feel like anyone is engaging me in the way that I engage them. And it's kind of that same dynamic in a podcast, in that you're asking questions. Nobody's really asking you any questions. So when I get to be in this place where somebody's asking me a question, you know, I that's why I love the way that you and I talk on the phone all the time. Because, like, we just talk about, like, the most random things in the most random ways, and it's just a nice kind of ebb and flow banter like that.
A lot of what we talk about on the phone, and I don't know how much I've talked about it on my podcast, but I know you've brought it up on yours. What is the 47 of it all?
Oh shit, here we go. In a nutshell, it's a really, really random story that comes from a random DM that I got from a random person who was asking me my, like, thoughts on things, like, asking my position on God. He was trying to, I think he actually said, like, I think I'm trying to determine if you're a psyop. So he asked me my position on God, and I told him, and he was like, oh, of course that's what you would say. And then I was like, okay, bud, how can I help you? How can I prove to you that, like, I'm not a psyop? And so somehow we got into a conversation where he asked me to pick a number through 1 and 100. And I was being very intentional. I was like, I'm not going to pick any of my normal numbers, like no 77 or 1121 or 3, and 47 just came out of nowhere. And since then, something subconscious in me put that into the universe, and it has been, like, I feel like the queen of chaos right now. Like, my chaos magic is on fleek. And I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but I know that I'm doing something. But most of the time, Chaney and I are just like 47, 74, 47. Like, there's so much more to that. But in a nutshell, it's me fucking with the simulation It's my higher self, my spirit guides, my future self. Somebody's talking to me, and I see it upwards of likely 47 times a day, to be quite honest. And I don't know what it means. And so Chaney and I most of the time are trying to like sift through the ether to like figure out what it all means.
The 47. I know, because it's like 74 years ago, it was 1947. 47 years ago, it was 1974. We keep looking up dates and times, or anytime the news seems to be like 47,000 people contacted COVID-19 over the weekend. 47,000 troops are being
47 is
evacuated from Afghanistan.
everywhere.
Yeah, it's insane.
The interesting thing that you just said right there. So you and I, we talk a lot about things that have happened in 1947, which because this year is 2021, that was 74 years ago. Now I was just thinking, and like 1974 and 47 years ago go along with that. 21st is our birthday. 4 plus 7 is 11. So it's 11/21 through it all.
That's crazy.
I know, we've never talked about that before. We talk about all the things.
Well, that's another reason that I have you on right now, because this will be my 21st episode.
Ooh, ooh.
So speaking of the numbers of it.
It's really interesting. There's like, and it's not just a me chaos magic thing. There like are other people who have been entranced by the number 47. I think it's known as, what is it? The quintessential random number. Like there's some literature on it that I've read that I like can't quote off the top of my head right now.
And there was like a rapper that was obsessed with it.
Right.
And the symbol, if you draw out, you can think of the traditional 4, that's the triangle shaped top, or the open 4, that's the, where it's just the 90-degree angled in the line. And then the 7 has kind of a similar thing symbology wise, or you could use the old school 7 with the line in it. So even when you're drawing them and putting them together, they make an interesting symbol.
Okay. The first prime number beyond the trigonometric limit is 47. The number 47 may be a flying increment to fill all space, to fill out the 8 triangular facets of the non-all space filling vector equilibrium, to form the all space filling first nuclear cube. If 47 as a factor produces a Scheherazade number with mirrors.
It's a Scheherazade. Can you imagine if I just corrected you?
Excuse me. That's fine. Correct me, please.
No, I don't know.
Scheherazade number with mirrors. It may account not only for all the specks of dust in the universe, but for all the changes of cosmic restlessness, accounting the convergent divergent next event, which unbalances the even and rational whole numbers. If 47 as a factor does not produce a number with mirrors, it may explain that there can be no reoccurring limit of symmetries. It may be that 47 is the cosmic random element, the agent of infinite change.
Is infinite change is chaos then?
Right.
Would it be? It would primordial chaos, like the primordial gods. But could ether be infinite change?
Definitely.
It is curious. I like the 47 of it all.
I love the 47 of it all.
And you also have your own lingo on your show that is of it all. Is people have given me credit for it on different things, and I'm like, I don't say it. That's a MyMaria777 thing.
The of it all?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Don't you think of it all is a very you thing to say?
Nobody's ever told me that before, so now I'll have to consider that.
Well, I can't take credit. People have said it to me, like, oh, you say that. And I'm like, I don't think I say it. I think Maria says it. So I can't believe. I know curiouser and curiouser is a tagline, but I think of it all. I can't believe you never heard that before.
No, I've never heard that.
I feel like if you have people that listen to your show, they're going to be like, what the fuck?
How interesting. You learn something new every day.
Okay. We also talk a lot about on the phony dating and things like that.
I love your perspective, though. You give a great feminine yet masculine perspective. Like you can give me kind of both sides of things at times.
Because sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't understand what your problem is. And then other times I'm like, oh, you just friend zoned yourself. Like, and then
Oh, why do you keep breaking your own heart? Is literally what you ask me all the time.
I wasn't, why do you keep breaking your own heart? I know, I don't know if it's like, is it a very Scorpion thing to do? Or is that just you by nature most of your life? Do you set yourself up for some kind of long game turmoil?
Sometimes I think I just do things to try to feel something, to be quite honest.
It's like an emotional cutting.
Right. Fuck, Maria. Damn, girl.
I understand it. I relate to it somehow.
At the quantum level.
Yeah, it's like that idea of just people, I just want to cut myself to feel something. I do believe there is this amount of heartbreak too in that same kind of level. And so if you maybe trauma, you said to me, no, that's trauma.
What you said something the other day and I was like, no, that's trauma talking.
I know you're just very analytical. But see, that's maybe what you're kind of masculine too. And even though our avatars don't look like it, we're both pretty like masculine and feminine balanced. So we can get really emotional and venti and then have this very logical, blunt, like, no, Chaney, that's your trauma talking.
It's like I'm holding you to my chest, like stroking you and just being like, no, you're very wrong.
You're wrong here.
You can lay here for just a second.
You're allowed to feel this.
Right. Feel it and then let it go.
Feel it just momentarily and then let it go. Okay, so in the dating world, what are red flags? Besides the obvious, we know we have, or I don't even know, is it obvious? Do you date somebody with a vaccine?
No. I am not. That is a line that I have drawn in the sand. And actually I started this, I was in this like talking phase with an oral surgeon that my mom was trying to hook me up with, and he was great. Like really like entrepreneurial spirit, like respected kind of like my alpha feminism, not feminism, the alpha feminine in me. And we hadn't met each other yet. We had this kind of like 2 or 3 weeks of like build up talking, texting, and then it was interesting that I noted. So some things that I begin on like Tinder or Bumble or Hinge or something like that, those applications are making that so much of your identity now, and people are making that so much of your identity. Whereas like I have no interest in that being a part of my identity, but I almost have to. Like it has to be my own badge of honor at this point. And because he and I had met in this like non-organic, organic way, because there was no app involved, like we hadn't met in person yet. It was like oh, I know somebody, I think you should meet them, you guys would be great together. The social media, and he didn't have social media either, like the social media of it all, the dating app of it all, like those things that like we define ourselves categorically in applications wasn't there. So I'd have 3 weeks of like just like developing this great relationship with him, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh shit, like put your Maria hat on, you haven't even thought about this. And the more that I thought about it, I was like, of course he's an oral surgeon, like he's probably taken it. And he did. And I immediately told him, I was like, this has been great, this has been fun, but I'm not gonna have sex with anybody. Like I don't want synthetic mRNA in my body. And you actually do a little more research into that other than reading some headlines, and they're finding that like they have to coat the mRNA in a nanolipid in order for it to not just like die once it enters the cell or enters the body, excuse me. But they're also finding that like those nanolipids are literally like they're finding it in women's ovaries. Like that's where that's going. So yeah, that's a firm line in the sand for me right now. And like on my dating profile, it says swipe left if vaxxed or you wear a mask.
So it's like easy red flags. What about life, or I shouldn't say life before COVID because we're here. What would be other red flags? You find they're not masks, they're not vax. Is it such a big thing nowadays, even like energetically, that somebody is taking that viewpoint? You already know you're leaning into something that's more in your style of sphere. What would be other red flags?
Other red flags. Okay. So I was talking to a guy recently and we went out on a date. And this isn't really a red flag, I guess, but it was just weird. Like and it's going to sound really strange, but he like didn't look me in the eye that much. Like we were talking, we were at this we were on the water at this restaurant, and he just like kept kind of like looking off into the distance. And so at first I was just like, oh, he really likes the view, I guess. Taking it, just kind of like, you know how sometimes you look away and like you speak in a contemplative way, but it was like more that than him actually like looking at me and engaging with me. And I just want to be like, clink, 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 like, hello, I'm over here. And I'm the type of person. Okay, here's I guess a red flag. I'm the type of person who I literally spend my lifetime on my phone. And if you and I were in person together or I'm on a date, I am completely disengaged from that thing. Like I don't, it's face
100.
down 100% all the time. Now, sometimes you go to a lunch or you have a dinner bar thing together where like you both like kind of know that you're going to play on your phones and like watch a little TV and talk the whole time. Like that's cool. But when I'm actually spending time with you, I'm not looking at that shit at all. And so somebody who does that, especially on the first date, that's weird. I have a lot of people that try to like gaslight you kind of in the DMs sometimes. Like somebody used this really fucking
Like what, in a
cheesy-
dating app? Or
Yeah.
in, I have
Like-
no idea. This is where I always feel like I would never, ever dating app, even if like something crazy in the world happened. But maybe it's like, oh,
I don't know. It's so for me when I was married, dating apps were kind of coming up,
mm-hmm.
and I hadn't had any exposure to them, and I used to say with my friends, I was like, this is just like a whole like scene that I completely missed based on like my marriage at that time. And then obviously I got divorced, and I don't know, they're kind of a game to me. Like I don't take them seriously by any means, and by no means am I actually think I'm going to meet like Prince Charming.
Well, you don't mind just being like, I don't mind meeting somebody. Like
Right,
you're
because-
just
okay.
open to the idea of like, I'm going to have dinner tonight, or I want drinks with somebody. I'm willing to have a conversation.
Something about me turning 33 last year was like I've got to stop being like like I'm an extroverted introvert, I think. And so sometimes I can like hole up and hermit myself. And I was in that really fucked up, stalker, catfish, online relationship. And I've let myself in the past be one of those women who I was putting myself into long distance relationships. And then, we wouldn't be able to be together. And so we would like not do things and like hang out on the weekend, like on the phone or by text. You know what I'm saying? And I was kind of manipulated a little bit in that way. And so I was like missing out on doing things and like going out with friends and that kind of thing. And just generally experiencing life and just kind of like locking myself into these long distance relationships. I don't know. It's very strange, but it's been all about me. Like if somebody's presenting something to me, like I'm going to go do it. Like if there's a concert, I'm going to go by myself. If I'm hungry and I want to go out, like I'm going to go out by myself. So that goes along with like most of the time I'm just playing on these things like when I go to the bathroom. And if something comes from it, let's see how it goes. It's great fodder for the podcast,
What would be like a tagline that you would see? Like we're creating the dream guy profile. MyMaria is scrolling through looking for her twin fucking flame. What would be like a sentence at the top that you would be like, oh my gosh, you had me at hello?
Shit. Okay. I got to think about this for a second. I can tell you some things I don't like.
Do it.
People that reference The Office as like, I just want to find I want to find the Pam to my Jim. Like, ugh, like people that make television like part of their identity, like, oh, that's awful. So there's one thing on Hinge, just like the thing I buy, what I buy for the table. So like you can pick 3 questions and then you get to answer however you want. So one of the things is like what I buy for the table, and guys are just like always say tequila. And one of them, a terrible one, is like I'm overly competitive about, and every guy writes everything.
I would write
Everything.
arm wrestling.
It's funny because I have the swipe left if vaxxed or you wear a mask. I get some hate comments sometimes from liberals. Like one guy was like, "You're disgusting," and somebody the other day said like, "You're trash," or "You sound like trash," or something.
I like how you made the guy that said you're disgusting. He was like, "You're disgusting, bitch."
I think he was like bald and kind of chubby, and that's just how I remember it. I remember him being like, I looked at him and I was like, "You're feminine. Like, get the fuck out of here." Okay, what would be good?
Or even a broader. You're on a date with somebody, it's a first date. What's a green flag? Like
I love an entrepreneur, you know what I mean? Because then I feel like we're at the same level. Like I used to kind of stay away from creative people in a way. Like, you know, you grow up and you like have this character you're supposed to become, and like you're looking for the doctor or the lawyer or the accountant for security. And like I'm a lawyer and I fucking hate it and I don't want to do it anymore. So I'm trying to like kind of take those glasses off and just look at things and like look at people. I used to be very much a goody two shoes in college, kind of, and I didn't like tattoos, and like now I'm like, whoo, I love some tattoos now.
Your perspective is expanding.
Yes, if you can like somehow show me that like you're not a beta bitch and like you've got some alpha energy. Like anybody obviously that says they have alpha energy likely doesn't. But I don't know. How do you convey confidence? Human Vibration and I were talking about this the other day. That isn't it so unfortunate that we've limited ourselves to this 30-second, 60-second like audition or preview of ourselves through this, and we act like we can judge somebody and just know off that like brief 30-second interaction like what a world this has come to. And then at the same time she goes, but I'm right, like I know that I'm right when I do that. Like so it sucks that it's this way, but like I still know in the same way. So I don't know, it's interesting. I don't know. I haven't really seen a great profile then, I guess. I like a little dog, and you know, if you like dogs, if I can tell you're into traveling, if you are an entrepreneur and you don't make like,
what about if you're just sitting somewhere, you're on a first date and they bring up something, pop culture, music, movie, something. What are some things that they'd be talking about that you'd be like, okay, I'm intrigued?
So this is my question that I ask everyone because I feel as though I can stare into the depths of your soul based on your answer. I ask, if you could only listen to 2 songs for the rest of your life, what would they be?
Do you want me to answer it?
Oh, of course. I'd love for you to. But like when the dude answers it, I'm like, I judge their musical taste, like the type of song selection they make.
Have you ever got somebody that answered you that you were like, oh, good grief?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They were like,
for sure. Most of them, yes.
I'm like, they're like Linkin Park, Love Me When I'm Gone. I don't even know if they sing that.
Oh,
I think that might be Three
Bob
Doors Down
said,
or
like,
something.
Wicked Games. And I was like, you would want to listen to Wicked Games for the rest of your life. And like something by AC/DC. And I was just like, dude.
Is that song? I want to fall in love with you. No.
It's so beautiful.
No, I hate it. It's like the Desert Kiss the Rain song. And I miss you, like the deserts miss the rain. I don't want to. It's the same. That song, Desert Miss the Rain, though, is still better than.
Oh my God, I love that.
I Want to Fall in
right
Love. And I want to fall in love. I always thought that that dude,
awful.
Chris Isaac, I always thought him and Katie Lang were the same person. They just like.
Wait, you gotta tell me what your answers are.
I think I like.
I'm surprised I haven't asked this before.
I know. I think sometimes when I really think about it deeper and deeper, I'm like, oh, maybe it'd be that song. I think Easy by the Commodores. And Midnight Train to Georgia, maybe by Gladys Knight and the Pips.
Nice.
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe right
you.
now.
I see you.
Maybe
Would you like
right
to know
now.
my answers?
Yes.
Okay. I have my top two and then I have my backups.
Oh, well, that's fucking cheating. But, no, tell me them all.
Well, it's my question. I can do what I want. And I ask you if you have backups too. Like if I was asking you in a romantic way.
Okay.
Number 1, Stranglehold by Ted Nugent. Number 2, Freebird by Leonard Skinner. It's cliche, but it's so long and so wonderful. And I've told you before, I love to sing the guitar. So I could listen to that forever. Close follow-up, Leopold Stokowski, A Night on Bald Mountain. And who makes that song? It's like it's not Ram Jam. I'm making that up. Party All the Time by
Eddie Murphy?
No, the other version of it.
Just kidding. My girl wants to party all the time.
Sharam. Okay, that song. My girl wants to party. I literally listened to it on repeat for hours. I am such a freak.
Eddie Murphy party all the time?
Not his version, but the Sharam version. I'll send it to you. I get work done. I go run errands listening to it. I fucking love that shit. I'm so strange. I'm one of those people, though, that if I'm into a song, I listen to it over and over and over again.
Me too. Like right now, the song I listen to over and over and over and over again is Dancing in the Moonlight, Everybody Feeling. I love it.
Little Van Morrison?
No, it's what is it? King, not Floyd. King. I don't know.
He has a version. I'm sorry. That's what I was thinking of.
No,
I've been listening to Blue Mondays, Orgy, I think is what it's called.
Oh, I love.
Fucking how does it?
Well, I just I love the Orgy. I'm like all 80s version of it, but I totally. Yeah. Is that what you run
it's
to?
My rage. No, I don't fucking run these days. I need to. That's just my rage song. Like if you walked past my office, I have like a suiting dress, sitting up like so like prim and proper, typing something on my computer, and I'm listening to my AirPods, like rage listening to Blue Mondays Orgy over and over and over again.
Like nobody would ever know.
Immediately turn on Party All the Time and listen to it 10 times in a row.
That's what's really going on in there.
Welcome to my inner monologue.
We talked about it on your show. Do you we talked about the Jenny of the Freebird of it all. Jenny. Do you have favorite movie scenes?
Ooh, yes. Okay. Ties into one of my favorite songs. I love Freebird. I love Jenny standing on the ledge and she's about to kill herself and she's just like contemplating everything, and it's the best fucking part of like the crescendo of the guitar, and it like comes up to the climax, and then she decides to not kill herself and she steps down and like the guitar steps down with it. It's so fucking good.
We've must talked about this scene for like 2 hours.
Yes, like on and off, audio messages upon audio messages. It's God, it's fantastic.
It's so good. It's so detailed and so good. I really think her in that movie, the more I think about it, every single scene with her, probably if you match it to the music, she's the unsung hero of the entire movie.
It's really about her and her arc. But say what you will, and you and I have had this conversation many a time. Say what you will about Hollywood and the people as the people, but I love Forrest Gump. I'm always going to love Forrest Gump. I don't really care about Hanks and like what happens with that. Like I love Zeppelin. Did they worship Satan? Probably, but who fucking cares at this point? Like I'm still going to listen to my songs. So what was I going to say about that? Fuck.
And that's all I have to say about that.
That's all. But you know, there's such an interesting discussion around that movie because we were talking about this whole Freebird. I say arc again, but it's really what it is. Freebird arc, where remember when she was little and she's saying, "Dear God, make me a bird so I can fly far, far, far away from there." And there's the feather in the beginning of the movie and the end of the movie. And it's like this bird theme and this flight and freedom theme that like we never really see the bird, but the bird keeps getting referenced. And then Freebird's playing. And at that crescendo, he's saying, like, "And this bird you cannot change." Oh, I'm not going to change, but she then decides to change. It's just, it's so interesting. But then on top of all of that, the Mandela of it all, the Sally Fields of it all, you know, there's like so many depths to that movie. It's always
it's so much. And if you do think about it, it could be about her because the free bird of it is she is free at the end. Like that is because the movie ends, you know, with the feather as well, and then sitting there in her energy, like having whatever little boy, but now raised in this perfect household, like this energy now being raised by this, like for whatever reason, kind-hearted dude in a perfect house with a perfect life and all the things she never had right down the street in Greenbow, Alabama.
Was I doing the shrimp thing with you the other day?
Do it.
What, did I do that with you the other day?
Yes, you were like,
I'm not
I
gonna
used
do
to
it
know
again.
this by heart. I think my audience would love to hear MyMaria777 do her Bubba Gump impression.
I do this all the time. Hold on. I gotta find the right spot. Oh, you visited this page on 7/20/21. That was obviously when I did it. And you and I talked about it. I love when Google tells you those things.
I never noticed Google to tell me something so secretive like that.
Mm-hmm. I can't do it.
No, you can't do it. It's all built up. Okay.
It's so long because normally I just do the part where it's like,
you know what? I'm gonna save you from doing it.
Potatoes,
You should.
burger, sandwich. I just say it in this like real thick Southern black man accent. Just that's something that nobody knows about me, and I do it very kind of seldomly. I think on the podcast I kind of do it like more and more when I'm talking about myself. I talk in like so many different. I guess people know that. I don't know. I talk in so many different voices, like in person. Like I have different voices just for myself, kind of depending on the mood I'm in or who I'm talking to. But like weird voices. Oh God, like I'm so fucking.
Does
weird.
P have a voice? Your dog?
Yeah, it depends on his mood.
What would be?
Sometimes he loves me and he's like real chipper, you know, and sweet. Most of the time though, I feel like he's judging me and he's just like, "What the fuck is this bitch doing now?"
He's just staring at you in judgment.
This is his. I'm his servant. This is his life.
That's what they say. Like when dogs are like pets and kids, they're supposed to be teachers to us somehow.
Mm-hmm.
I always felt like my dog made me, or my cat made me take care of myself.
Oh, for sure. And I have to take care of him. If I didn't have him, Lord, I would be such a slob kebab. But I think he's definitely a spirit guide of mine.
You've gotten internet heat. I think we should talk about it. One of the funny things that you're free to talk about here that you've gotten heat for is because you were like, I don't know how I feel about Jesus. Would you like to clarify how you feel about Jesus?
Jesus. Okay. I think Jesus is a psyop. I think that religion in it, like organized religion in and of itself, is like the biggest scam probably perpetuated on the population in all of eternity. But I just think Jesus is probably an amalgamation of different cultures, kind of references to someone, if you will. God, there was such an interesting TikTok I saw recently. So I'm going to butcher this. I can't remember any of the actual players involved, but there was some king who's
Caesar Borgia?
right, and like his
Caesar Borgias?
commissioned all the Catholic paintings to be modeled after his male boyfriend. And that's where we get the modern day depiction of like the white male Jesus with like the long brown hair. Like it all comes from like, it was either a pope
Sexy
or
Jesus?
a king. Yeah. But I just think that like maybe there was a Jesus, maybe there was an individual who, let's call a spade, had some magical powers and could manipulate energy and was in contact with some sort of otherworldly entity, whether that be an actual god or creator or the simulation or something outside or aliens. Who the fuck knows? But I just don't think that he, as he exists, was real by any means. And I just think it's something that's used to manipulate people, to control them, to take money from them, to shame them, to guilt them, to control their behavior, to put them in matrices. And it's such a good psyop that like it will continue in perpetuity at this point. And it's not just Jesus, it's like any major figure in any of the major religions. I mean, most of them are Jesus, but
when was the last time you prayed?
probably college.
Did you pray to Jesus?
I used to do this thing when I was a child. My mom and I, like, we would pray, and I would just like name like I would pray for my mom and my dad and my nana and my brother and my sister, like go down the whole list.
Like an OCD?
Mm-hmm.
But
like
it could be ritual, like you're putting their name out there. And
so then I would say the Our Father, a Hail Mary, the Glory be to God. I would say another prayer. I would say there's like another nighttime prayer. There was like 5 or 6 prayers I would do every single night. And then if I was ever in like a lot of trouble, or I felt like something really bad was going to happen, I would say 2 or 3 prayers like over and over and over again. Like just for silly stuff. I don't know.
have you had any like bad dreams or night terror or sleep paralysis of any time in the last few years that you were still called on that at all?
Like called to a god?
Yeah, or Jesus, or like prayed like in that like almost
Like
mantra
fear, like
way. Like
in like a mantra way? No, I haven't done that in quite a while. I also haven't experienced sleep paralysis in some time. I definitely was for a time, but I have not in some time.
that's one of the really scariest things that happens to you in life.
It is. It's I never believe. I just wanted to say very briefly, like I believed in prayer for a time, but I never believed in the, what am I trying to say?
The deity.
Confessing of your sins
Oh, yeah,
to
yeah.
the priest, and then how you would get like punished in prayer, like your penance was in prayer. You would spill the beans about all the sins that you had committed, and then go say like 10 Hail Marys and everything was absolved. Like that thing that never resonated with me. I know, even from probably 4th grade on, and I never went to confession. So I had like maybe 2 years of confession. And then I used to be one of those people that would worry that like somebody saw me, so I'd like get up and move around.
Yeah,
when we were supposed to
confession's
be
a
going to
really
bed.
strange thing because I think there's a spot in the Bible that says like that you shouldn't confess your sins to anyone, but blah blah blah. But then the Catholic religion and Christian are very. It's like there's similarities in the characters, but then it's like totally different scripts. It's like Ghostbusters and like the new Ghostbusters. It's like there seems to be some of the same main arc. I always just have a problem with Old Testament and New Testament. Like, it's okay, but God said he was wrong when he gave a rainbow, and he admitted he was wrong again when he came down into the flesh of man. Like, those are 2 times, so it's fine. Like, it's okay. You're allowed to be wrong, God, but can we all just admit it?
I think it's interesting. I find the Bible to be quite binary.
I do too. I'm like, I
As
don't
if
want
it
my
was
God to be so binary.
Well, as if it was like that's the interesting thing I think about the psyop is that some religions, not so much Catholicism, but some religions are so entrenched in the Bible. You know, the individual has read the Bible from cover to cover and can quote Bible scriptures from their head and apply them at situations at will, and will kind of live and breathe by this document and defend it to the end. Will not consider that there could be any sort of like malfeasance or negligence or any sort of hypothetical where something could have influenced it other than this God. And I think that's such an interesting perspective to take, especially in the context of being this conspiracy theorist and you follow QAnon and especially if you follow me, like I literally tell you, question everything, even yourself, even me. And then there's this sect of like, we question other religions, ones that aren't us. And then we question certain kind of parts of the religion that we don't agree with, especially the pedophilia or something like that. But then there are these other parts of the religion that people put away like lock and key with the Bible. And so it's like, you think that like government there have been conspiracies related to government for centuries, for thousands of years, but somehow religion.
This little book is safe.
Right. And so, I hate when people just won't even have a discussion about those type of things because it threatens the
Core.
little tiny existence they've created for themselves, or alternatively has been created for them. But I don't know. The Bible just seems like very artificial intelligence like to me. And
there's so many weird friggin' stories that you wonder why they're in there. There's a lot of people that seem to be key players written about in other religious books, but don't have books in the Bible. We wonder. I'm like, I want the book of Mary Magdalene and the book of Judas.
Book of Thomas, I'd love to see the Gospel of Thomas.
Aren't those all the Q Gospels?
Right. They're supposed to be the ones that like talk about Tartaria and that you yourself are a god, like you are the universe experiencing itself and that type of thing. It's I don't trust any motherfuckers that like limit anything. So I mean, obviously that essentially is everyone, but who's to say that like you shouldn't read that text and like discern for yourself?
Yeah, I definitely think people, that's one of the things with all religions, though, is they kind of discourage you from looking at the others. And I think you need them all to have a full picture of anything.
Right. I suppose. It's,
I like to think Buddhism, you go in, and Christianity, you go out. Like Buddhism teaches you how to love yourself, and if you like as within, Christianity teaches that you'll get that love by loving other people as so without. I kind of think each of them. Old school conspiracy friend of mine was like, the Catholic Church has to always stay around. It's the literal skeleton of Christianity. Otherwise,
right,
the fleshy
it's the
parts,
backbone in that way.
yeah, like the fleshy parts of Christianity will always change throughout every few hundred years. They will always, but the Catholic Church will always be the skeleton that all those branches will always go off of.
It's the trunk of the tree.
Yeah, for them, for that one sect of the religion. And he was kind of saying like, and I totally took that in another way of like, okay, what if Buddhism's the heart and Judaism's the head and Scientology's the left hand and Mormonism's the right and the left foot is some kind of religion that we don't even know the name of because it doesn't have words. It just has grunts and it's in the middle of the rainforest somewhere. Like it's like all of these concepts to me, it's like you're turning over rocks. Like anyone's school of
Right.
thought, like if you were to bury your truth and the way the universe spoke to you, God spoke to you, sorrow and grief changed you, and you wrote it down and buried it, and I found it 100 years from now, there would be a truth in there that was as real as, you know, the Gospel of James or whatever.
I wonder what an existence would be like though, if you could have been born and like not exposed to any religion, and like what your connection to the universe or the thought, like what, without the introduction of the thought of a creator, like would you have the thought of a creator?
Would you be really impressed by the sun and the stars and the rain? Would you think there was a god of the wind? Would you even create a god of everything, or would you just think it was you?
Right. Or that it's all kind of one in some way. I don't know. That's a whole nother concept. I love talking about the wind. I've like theorized on the wind, wondered about the wind since I was a child. But
Where did it all start?
I remember telling my mom when I was little that I could see the wind. I don't really remember what that's like now.
Are you a weather witch?
Ooh, yes, I was most definitely a storm chaser in another life.
Do you think you can control the weather now?
Yes, I think we can. So I talk about how much I love Glacier National Park in Montana and Whitefish all the time. And when I was there in October of last year, was on this hike, and like my friend didn't want to keep going on the hike with me, and there's something about the mountains. There's something about out west and like the energy there. And I was just kind of having this like emotional experience and like felt this connection. And I was really starting to get into the law of attraction and manifestation and kind of like exploring these thoughts. And I just thought to myself, like, okay, like I would say something like, I'm so grateful that I saw a bear in the next 30 seconds, or like a moose or something like that. And then I would see one. And then I got to this point where I was like on this cliff looking at this water and looking up into the sky, and like as God is my witness. No, I truly like I felt like I was talking to kind of the sky, and like the weather was interacting with me, and it was incredible. Like, and now that's why I'm going back like once a year from ever now. Like I'm gonna call it my pilgrimage to go back on this hike.
There is certain
out there,
like old tribes and stuff. There were people, I don't like wind talker. There were people that I don't know, they wind whispers, wind walkers, talkers. I've heard it, I've read it, like skimmed it over in a bunch of old books, but I don't think everyone can do everything, but I think some people can do some things. And like weather doesn't feel like I'm called to it, but I definitely talk to people who do feel like they can manipulate it and move it and do it in different ways too. Like it's like some people move it with their hands and some with their head, and some people shoo it and some people hold it, like clouds.
I've never really even thought about this outside the context of kind of that hike. Like I love the wind. I think about the wind. I podcast about it sometimes. So I've never really considered, and I see it around me all the time, and I like have all these different thoughts about it. But in my day to day, I'll have to attempt to manipulate it.
This is so weird, but it just dawned on me. I had a friend tell me this about the wind once, and this is forever ago. She said, I'm having the best day. I can't explain it, but I feel like the wind's flirting with me.
Definitely. I definitely feel that.
That's the vibe.
That's the vibe. Mm-hmm.
Huh. I only felt that one time from the world. It was definitely on mushrooms, and I was listening to Apple Juice Kisses by Delight, and I was just like, and I was eating an apple listening to this song, but I felt like I could see everything, and I just felt like the earth just loved me. Like it just loved me. It was like, look at the sky and look at these butterflies and birds and wind and trees. And it was just like, whoa, look at all this creation and paint just for me. It really did feel like a flirt in this really great way.
So like what is the earth to you though? You know, is the earth or not the earth, like the I guess the earth, I don't know. Like is it sentient? Like if we actually believe that we're on some sort of real mass, whatever that may look like is all of that connected, Gaia in that way? Or like is the wind separate from water from
Well, they're all different
or is it all
elements.
kind of interconnected? Right.
And well, it's like a crystal has properties. How far down do we dig until we're all on the same crystal?
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that. Do you believe the earth core, crust, mantle, that slice of the earth they show us where they're like, this is the crust and mantle and core?
No. I believe so many things right now. You know, at our core, I'm still thinking that this is like a simulated reality and that we're on the linear plane. So part of me, like going into that conversation where like, does Gaia exist? Like, is it self aware? Is it like an entity? What if that's just like strokes of the computer in like my simulation theory of it all? But
Do you feel grounded when you like take your shoes off and put them
I
in the
do.
grass?
I do. I love being outside. I got to get out of this apartment so I can have more time outside.
What element do you lack the most in your life?
Water.
Yeah, you're a heavy Scorpio. You need it more. Do you have a
Yeah.
fish tank in your house?
No.
Do you take baths?
No. I don't even drink that much water. I've got to start drinking more water.
Oh my gosh, yeah, you really need it. Like
true.
your elemental signs need it. They find a calm in that. Like fire signs need fire pits, and water signs need baths and like ponds. Earth
I would
signs
love to
need to
have a lake
ground out.
house. That's been my ultimate goal, is to like have a house on the lake one day.
What do you
Lake's like a
picture?
big
What's a
thing in
fairy
Tennessee.
tale picture? Your house on the lake.
Ooh, a fairy tale is like I would have a house in Tennessee on the lake, and then I would have a house in the mountains in Montana, and I would go back and forth.
Is there a man in this fairy tale?
Oh, but of course.
Is there
I had-
men plural, or do
no.
you just picture a twin flamey soulmate?
I picture a twin flamey soulmate.
Is that different to you?
What do you mean?
Twin flame and soulmate?
Oh, for sure. I think that you can have a multitude of soulmates. I think that the idea of one soulmate is such a limiting idea that was hijacked by Hallmark. You know, and like everyone, I remember almost, I don't even remember who it was. Some guy. Oh, some guy that I used to hang out with years ago. And he was slightly woke, like very liberal, but still slightly woke. And he told me one time he was talking about like one of his friends, and he was like, "Oh, she's my soulmate." And that version of me back then was kind of like, we weren't even anything yet. And I was like a little jealous a little bit. Like, I wouldn't be your soulmate, like thinking that you could only have one. But the idea of the twin flame, I love that idea. But I think it's a lot heavier than people give it credit for. Like they kind of put it on this like same plane as a soulmate and attribute it just to like whoever your lover of this lifetime is. But I love that, like the OA idea of it all. You know, that like she and him are connected in every lifetime through the quantum. So like your twin flame could be somebody that you love in this lifetime. It could be somebody that you detest in the next one.
I had somebody tell me in the past few weeks that, oh, I made a really big mistake and I tried to date my twin flame And I had never heard that before. It blew my mind. Like, you made a mistake and tried to date your twin flame, and they were like, yes. Like, if you can keep your twin flame in your life without ever having to cross those barriers, because you're going to constantly pull each other up, even if it's in uncomfortable, unhappy ways, even if you're bad mirrors of each other, even if one of you's going through an addiction at one time and the other's the other time, it's like you're constantly doing these things to like make each other rise higher. So the idea of actually being with your twin flame is like all encompassing. Like, it would become everything. You wouldn't have a family with that. You wouldn't have a career with that. You wouldn't have it's just like you and them, and that's it. Which that's what some people love. They want that all encompassing wrap up and loss.
I'll be honest with you. I kind of am looking for this all encompassing person in that some of like my relationships in my past were just like so lacking. And like there was a connection, but like not at any level that I could fathom that I would tolerate now. And I just think that there's a male version of me out there who is a little bit crazy and passionate to the umpteenth degree and wants to just kind of have this like wild life with me where we enjoy being together and we're working like I want to find somebody that I can create with in a business type relationship as well. So I don't want I want like good chaos. I don't want bad chaos by any means, but I'm looking kind of for a little like a slight obsession level. But I think
Like, where
that's
you're
probably
just like that couple staring at each other in the room always, like from across the room. Like, it always seems mildly naughty. Like, everybody else always feels like they're invading your guys' space.
a little bit, a
Where they're
little bit,
like,
yeah.
where it's like so the tension's so thick.
Yes.
It's like everybody else can feel it too always.
Like I want somebody who just wants to bang it out all day long. Like wants me as much as I want them. And like, yes, I want it to be like palpable. But like
Humidity. You're like the
like
humidity level
it's
in
thick.
here.
It's thick.
You want
I
to you want the swamp. You're not trying to drain the swamp. You are like, I want
right.
the full swamp of passion.
Exactly. But I've I find in my life that I like put everything into things and like especially my friends and like people that mean something important to me and especially my loved ones. Like I'm giving 100 and like everything I have and then some, almost to most of the time to my own detriment. Like I would do something for this person that would hurt me in some way rather than doing what I needed to do for myself. And obviously that's not necessarily healthy. But I've never found somebody that like met me like that was giving me that kind of same level. So I'm getting to a point now. I have this thing that I say that when I meet somebody new, I think that I can tell within like the first 5 or 10 minutes whether it will ever actually work because that like wild kind of spark that I'm looking for, I think is either there and you can like convey that and how you talk and like how you feel and the way that you carry yourself. Like I think you can see that. Like it might not obviously work, but like if there was ever a potential, I'm looking for that spark. And if it's not there, I don't want to fucking play games anymore because
Have
that's
you
all I
ever
want.
dated a friend of yours? Like, have you ever hung out with someone? You're chilling every day, you're chilling, and then you look at each other and it's like, oh my gosh.
So I had a friend in college and we met on the first day of orientation and we were just like best friends after that. I didn't know it at the time, but he was like into me. And I had a naturally my first boyfriend who was going to a different college in Kentucky and was going to be 2.5 hours away from me. So I was so in love with him that like I had no idea that he liked me at that time. And like even told people, he was like, "Oh, I met the woman I'm going to marry today." Like first day of orientation. So sweet. And so I didn't know he liked me maybe for like a year. And then it transitioned one time, and then it was never ever ever the same after that. And like if ever there was one who got away, it was probably I always like we always wanted each other at different times, and then he went to a medical type school. I'm not going to say the exact type of school. And I went to law school, and we went to different cities that we had been in. And so we were like the only people that knew each other in the whole city. And then we finally had sex, and his dick was so small. It was 4 years of bent up sexual tension. And it was so
Oh
small.
my gosh. Is that important for ladies, dick size? This is a naivete
Yes.
of my lesbianness. One, I
Yeah.
always like think that if I were with a dude, I maybe would prefer a guy with the smallest dick in the world. But I don't know if that's because I'm
Ooh,
such
no.
a lesbian.
Ooh, no. No small. Okay. Let me say this. I am a little spoiled. I had a fiance that had like, do you want me to get graphic right here?
Yeah, do it.
He had like an 8-inch dick, and it was divine. And then everything I compared to that, because that was like
You
the last
vibe so
good
high
sex
when
I
you
had.
said it, it broke out.
So I've seen some small penises lately. Now at the same time, I had like a 7-year love affair with an older man, like on again, off again, and his dick is tiny, and it would never fulfill me for my lifetime. But he knows what he's doing to like make it happen, like overcompensating in that way.
So like
So
oral or just everything
both
else.
though. But like I don't know. I guess sometimes I get off with people with small dicks. It doesn't make sense. I
So
think
it's
it might
really
be
on how
true.
they use it. Like if the connection's big enough, um, there. But so it is important, dick size.
Dick size is important, but I keep encountering all of these 30-year-olds with erectile dysfunction. And
Hmm.
so, if anything, I don't care how small your dick is, if you could keep it hard these days, like that seems like a commodity.
That is kind of crazy. I don't know if it's all the booze, all the drugs, or is it like
The
every
soy.
them and oh yeah, all the soy and everything they're putting in hormones and all. I mean, every kind of milk. But is it because all these young dudes are fucking around with dick pills in their young age?
Well, okay, Bob, my contractor slash ex lover, he
If you listen to My Maria, she calls him Bob the Builder on her show. That's
Bob the
his
Builder,
alias.
that's his alias, yeah. He's my contractor. He takes testosterone shots and he gives them to himself. And he was talking to me the other
Is he
couple weeks ago.
transitioning? I'm just kidding.
He was talking to me a couple weeks ago. He was telling me, he was like, yeah, I haven't felt good today. Like, I'm sorry I didn't call you back last night. I got dizzy and fell asleep. I've been taking so much testosterone that like it increases their hemoglobin levels in their blood, and like they literally have to go give blood to
Hmm.
release for a release. Like he's like, I get too much hemoglobin in my blood, and like I get dizzy, and I like he was like telling me all these symptoms, and I was like, that's insane. But he wants more testosterone, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's becoming a big thing that a lot of guys and the doctors keep lowering the levels, lowering the levels, lowering the levels. Because once you synthetic take testosterone in your body, it tells your body to stop producing testosterone. So, yeah, it's problems for UFC fighters and things all the time, like people that are testing in athletics. So it's so sometimes I think they try to do estrogen in the opposite way to try to get something to kick in, like estrogen blockers.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
yeah, there's like a whole like once you start messing with the chemistry of your body, especially before you need to, but it's the guys use it for working out and stuff too. They're like, I feel like $1 million. I have all this testosterone running through me, and but all the ladies in Hollywood use it too, testosterone therapy for working out.
True. True, true, true. It's a weird world out there.
I feel like I'm high in testosterone.
Oh, I am. I have polycystic ovary syndrome. So that means I don't produce enough estrogen in my body naturally to ovulate. And so I have a higher testosterone and androgen level. which is why I'm aggressive and like sex so much and all the things that I am. So
Dude, I never have had a regular period my whole life. This is
you
whatever.
probably have it too. You should go get.
I had Reiki 3 months ago, and it was in my solar plexus. Or it was in my sacral chakra, sorry. And that I had my healing and whatever. I've had my period regular 3 months in a row.
I have for the last year, and I honestly think it was maybe when I had Reiki. But I've also been like working on becoming healthier.
I am healthier, but I've never had a regular period my whole life.
Girl, we are such the same.
I know, and I never even put it to the Reiki before that I was like, holy shit, I had a regular period again, like 27.5 day regular, like crazy regular. And I had cramps during my Reiki session. That's when I had my whole where I felt like somebody took my baby.
Oh, right. You should go get your levels tested sometime. I bet you have high androgen and testosterone.
Oh, maybe. I know. I'm so anti right now with anything medical. I'm like, no, I'm not going to wear a mask. The other day I thought I broke my shoulder, and I'm like, well, this is going to be a toughie without the hospital.
YouTube video, how to fix broken shoulder.
I'm like, well, I'm just going to have to pin it up like this, and because I'm not
all
doing
the
that
witches
stuff.
sending you energy.
I know. I'd have to heal it that way, old school style, with an eye of newt.
Bitch, if you break your shoulder, you should put the mask on and take one for the team and go get it fixed.
I'm saving up it. I'm like, it has to be big if I'm going to put the mask on.
Like, you go take your tincture, but bones are fucking bones.
You can set your bone. That's old medicine.
Oh, for sure it is. But like, do you want to be your first test?
Do it. I have one folded over shoulder.
Be like a fucking wench.
That's part of my witch look.
Fucking Hunchback of Notre Dame for Halloween.
What are your thoughts of witches?
Ooh, I think we're all witches and wizards at the end of the day, you know?
What does it mean? What does witch mean?
Witch, what does that mean to me? I love a little practical magic, you know, like an individual who's feels like they have some sort of like, don't you all listening like feel like you have some sort of magical power? Like I always thought I have in some sort of way. And I feel like I can manipulate energy. I feel like I can manipulate the simulation.
Can you feel other people's energy?
Sometimes, but not as well as others do. I feel like sometimes I evaluate people more from like an analytical level before I do on like that's my first pass. And then I can read when like energy shifts and that kind of thing. But like my mom, for example, told me for the first time within the last year that like she has some form of synesthesia where she sees like energy around people.
Like auras.
I was like, you waited your whole life. But it's not just people, I guess. It's around everything. She sees it on like other objects too. I'm like, you waited your whole life to tell this to me?
You're like, this is like the most interesting thing you've ever said.
Right. But like she doesn't talk about it a lot. And she talks about how like she used to talk about it when she was little because she thought everybody saw things like that.
You have had an orgasm without being touched.
Yes. Sleep orgasms. Ooh. Some of the best.
And have you ever had an energetic orgasm from somebody?
No.
Oh, I thought you did this with your stalker once.
Oh. I mean, he could like turn me on just with his voice. But I felt him like touching me in the Reiki energy from afar, but not an orgasm per se.
Oh, okay. But you've had sleep orgasms.
Oh my God. Yeah, those are great.
I've never had a sleep orgasm.
Ooh, child.
Is that like a wet dream? Or
few and far between. Maybe 10 max in my lifetime. But it's just like the best orgasm. And you wake up and you're just like, holy shit, what like sometimes I feel like I got fucked by something.
I've
Hey,
heard of that, of
hello,
people
energy.
getting.
Come fuck me again tonight.
You're like, if I'm talking about it, if you're listening.
Yeah, girls, it's been a long time.
You're putting the shout out to the ghostly realm.
Shout out to the demons listening.
All the demons in the house tonight. What song will you be listening to?
Please give
I'll
me a
have
sleep
Freebird
orgasm. Turn on Freebird if it's you. Actually, turn on Stranglehold. That would really turn me on.
Stranglehold, and you can call me Janae.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Lord.
Okay. So
Sounds like a hell of a
I have
wet
to
dream.
get it back on track. Like, where do we even go with that? Do you think all women should be able to get themselves off with just their hand?
Oh my God, I have a friend from law school. Let's call her Bonnie.
Let's call her
And-
Hetty.
Hetty. Hetty fucking was really cool, really open, really not your typical lawyer whatsoever. Like really alternative. And she was like, Maria, I've never had an orgasm before. And I'm like, okay, sex wise, I get that. She's like, no, even by myself. And I'm like, go buy a vibrator and just literally like put it on top of your clit and like probably about a minute later you're gonna feel something.
You're
really
like, this is not high science. You're like, this is not high magic. This is practical magic.
I was doing this as a child and I didn't know what I was doing. And like, you're 30 years old, or at the time, like 25 years old. But it like almost like became a part of her like quiche personality with the girls. Like she would talk about it all the time. And I was just like, I can't talk about this with you anymore. Like literally go by, like do what I told you to. Like how could you not be in touch with your body in that way? So I guess to answer your question, maybe there are people that I think you should be able to do that, but I guess there are people that don't know how.
I feel like it should be a key to prepping. Is prepping, like we always talk about, if shit hits the fan. You should know how to get yourself off with just yourself, because how many batteries are you gonna have if you don't have electricity running to your house? Like, you know, there's like always guys talking about they're addicted to porn. I think there is a whole generation of women that are not going to be able to get off without machinery.
Okay, here's the thing. If you've reached the 30s and you don't know how to double click your mouse, or you've never done that, sis, something's going on there. Like, how? How
Dude,
is that possible?
There is a lot of people in the world that are not, they just are embarrassed by themselves.
Oh my, it's the guilt of it all. I knew what I was doing at a young age, and I go through periods. I don't do it old school all the time, but like, God, if you don't know how to do it old school, like, did you live in your teens?
If you don't know how to do it old school, how did you make it through camp?
Right? Like, so I had, like, when I first became a lawyer, I have a paralegal, and the paralegal knew how to do stuff that I didn't know how to do. But I used to work like triple overtime because I wanted to understand the document before I asked somebody else to write a document for me. So it's like that same kind of principle. Like, your paralegal boy, like, how could you ask him to do something for you that like you don't know how to do for yourself?
Well, a lot of lesbians, we were talking about this, and they were saying that they probably wouldn't be interested in hooking up with a woman that can't give her orgasm to herself.
Okay, question. In the lesbian world, obviously, like, not everybody does the same thing, but I think you've told me before that like scissoring is not real, right?
Yeah, we're like, scissoring's a psyop. Scissoring is how men would direct two women to have sex.
Like, do you guys involve penetration all the time?
I like how you just got a pin. It's so funny how much this has actually come up in my life of recent, where I like walked into work the other day and the girls were all standing around the phone and they were like, we're Googling how lesbians have sex.
Right. I'm just like, Do you guys always wear a strap on? Do you?
I never do. It's not
Okay.
my scene. It would really embarrass me. I would feel more naked than naked if I looked down and had a dick.
Oh yeah.
It would make me feel so fucking weird. And this is actually no lesbians watch lesbian porn.
Oh really? So what's your top category?
Gay man porn. I don't really have a top category, but if I had a category, it'd be
And,
that.
like that turns you on?
I'm not turned on by porn, but if I were going to watch porn, it'd be that. And I've had a discussion now with enough lesbians to know it's a thing.
How strange.
To say,
You
like,
want what you can't have.
I know. Well, it's even the strap on of it all. It's a power thing. Like, I think
Right.
lesbians, porn is such a whole different animal, no pun intended, like in the bedroom at all, that then it just becomes a power thing. But I think a lot of lesbians that strap on it, that's a whole different power dynamic.
Oh, definitely.
And then a lot of lesbians that strap on, this is so crazy, but I have friends with but they would totally fuck a dude in the ass.
Oh, they would do it. Okay. Yeah.
Like it's a power thing. It's a different thing. I don't strap on. But I know those kind of lesbians.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I am a top. If there's like a top and a bottom, I'm still a top. But
I think I'm a switch.
yeah, I can see you as a switch. But are you a pillow princess ever? This will be my most sexual episode. I feel like I'm on. I know. I feel like I'm on Dating in the Matrix.
Mating in the Matrix. So, what is a pillow princess?
A pillow princess is somebody that can just lay there and hold the pillow and look pretty and relax.
So, like, does that mean is there nothing that happens? Like, no movement, no.
Well, you can scream and move and do whatever, but you don't have to do anything. You can just lay there and be a princess.
No, that's not me.
You're like, nope.
I was like,
so
wait.
I'm not a switch.
Oh no, I'm a switch. Like I lay there, but like I'm involved. Like I'm not just like laying there and like not doing anything. Does that make sense?
You're involved. Well, yeah. I mean, it's a little harder. I mean, in your world, if you're just a pillow princess, it's so rare that a girl's just laying there and a guy's just railing them.
Oh, you would be fucking surprised how many guys still try to do that. Just like jackrabbit it.
And you're like, nope. Or you let it.
Tell a story. I just can't.
Not yet. You're like, next time I'm on episode 47.
Let's say that
I wish this was video right now. The whole time I've ever done this, I've never, but that whole moment.
Started, I'm sorry.
You actually look like you had a penis in front of you that you were debating if you were going to suck it or not. And you were like,
Oh, man. Somebody that I know that you might know.
You don't even have to say that part.
Is a fucking jackhammer jackrabbit. And sometimes you're with a guy and you're just like, okay, maybe that was just your intro. Maybe you were nervous. It's gonna get better. Nah. So yeah, I mean there are 30-year-olds that do that.
I think that I don't understand for men listening. I don't understand why men don't take more time with foreplay if they're going to get off quick so that they can I don't know.
Oh, you got to check that box, baby. That's like an expectation.
I just feel like as a lesbian, a good male lover should be able to do every single thing I can do and then some. I
Right,
don't
and probably better than you or rivaling you.
Yeah, they should be able to do it better because they have this whole other apparatus. So I don't understand how they can't do every single thing I can do and then they also have their penis. So it just disappoints me at how um, the lack of good sex straight women are having.
Ooh, for sure, for sure. I
Because men could be
so
able to do this. I have faith in them.
so I'll call myself a switch, but that first like 3 or 4 times that I have sex with somebody, like it's your audition. Like I'm watching you. I'm reacting to you. I'm involved. I'll take a little lead here and there. But like mostly you're showing me what you're capable of, you know? So
Do you
if
like to be
it's
told what to do?
oh yeah, for sure. But like if you're not gonna like you're saying, if there's like not adequate foreplay in like your first 3 or 4 sessions, then there's never gonna be adequate foreplay. And I think it's so interesting how many guys like are willing to accept oral but are not willing to give it. And they're just like, "Oh, I don't like that." Like, okay. So,
It's harder to
I
get
don't
a
know.
woman off orally than it is to get a man off, but the act of um giving oral to a man over giving oral to a woman is so much extra and more. Like it is so much extra. The next day, you're like, oh, my jaw hurts. Or like you have all this like residual of dude, whereas like I guess you kind of do for ladies too. You have your whole own different residual if you get down like that. But it just seems like fuck dudes, you won't even have to do that. Like I just I don't understand why dudes aren't just giving the whole thing up.
Oh, I agree. I agree. But some, you know, basic beta men are basic and beta in the bedroom.
Is there too many basic beta men now in the world?
Oh, for sure. Most definitely. The NPCs. All that soy boy mentality. Where did all the good dick go?
Do you think the computer is a feminine thing? And so dating on the computer is already bringing out a different type of male?
I don't know. I think dating on the computer allows you to represent a false version of yourself, like perhaps an ideal version of yourself, but perhaps not a really realistic version of yourself. So I think that like blends into the whole nature of that like catfish culture where people just want to feel something and like not be like they just want to escape the reality that they've created for themselves. But okay, like so a red flag, like I'm not attracted to a gamer at all. Like if you have an Xbox that you spend more than 2 hours a week on, I ain't got time for that.
That's like too, it's almost different generational.
Like if you and I want to play GoldenEye on like a Friday night after we've like cooked fillets and like had red wine, fuck yeah. If you want to play like some games and we have people over, some like old school stuff, but like if you're gonna get on and like play Halo with a headset on, I'm not your girl.
You're not into it.
Yeah, I'm not into kids either.
Do you want kids ever?
Definitely. But I don't want to be a stepmom. I don't want to compete for attention in like the beginning.
That's kind of a crazy idea. When do you think is too late to have kids?
I don't know. They say that after 30, the 35 is a geriatric pregnancy.
Which is so just how
I just
insulting.
think it's bullshit. I think our whole
How
perception,
dare you
our
say
whole perception
geriatric?
of time and remember when we were young and like 40 was over the hill?
Yeah.
Wild times. But I think I'll have a child before I'm 40.
Would you ever have a child without a father or like a husband?
Ooh, that would not be ideal. I don't desire that hypothetical.
You're like, I'm not even putting that
Not
energy.
even
Like
putting
you
any
thought
energy
about
into
it for a
that. No.
second, and you're, if you had a child, would you prefer a boy or a girl?
Well, I've like got my girl's name picked out already, and I always thought I would have 3 kids, but at the same time, I'm gonna be very selfish in my later years. Like my brother and I were 16 months apart, and I loved that about us. Uh, but to think of being pregnant 7 months after having your first one, and then like having a third one sometime thereafter, you're essentially pregnant for like 3 or 4 years, and that just I have no desire to do that at this point, and I also want to take over the world. So in an ideal situation right now, is like I would have a kid, and then I might have a surrogate have 2 kids for me.
Huh? That's next level. That's getting all Kardashian about it,
I know. I also have fertility issues, so I don't know. I think I might have to get to like an IVF point, and if I
which is
do,
so much planning.
right, and if I do, then like why not put it in someone else? I guess those are just thoughts I have.
Is that interesting energetically? Another womb holding your seed or
I don't
egg?
know. I haven't really had that thought of it, that kind of like line of thought in that way. But sometimes though, adding to a place, I think like maybe I won't have kids. But I've always imagined that I would.
That's when anytime it would ever come up in gay relationships, they're like, well, who's going to carry? Um, because it's such an energetic big thing. And then there's even like, oh, my egg, and then you carry it. That's a whole heady
Well,
next level thing.
but then knowing what you and I know, if you like, let's say you had a situation where you could not conceive in your own womb, and so like
Mm-hmm.
a surrogate was your only option. I think there could still be like a quantum connection in that way.
Oh, well, you still have a quantum connection, I think, the egg and sperm, but then you're adding the other connection of the womb.
Right.
Which it seems like a whole very special addition. It's like for a lesbian couple, they'd be adding the sperm as this outside thing. But for you as a straight couple, you'd be adding a womb unnecessarily, or maybe necessarily, depending on the age that you decided to do it.
Right.
But it's like the umbilical cord and everything that's attached in that, and everything they eat and sleep, and the sound of their voice close, and the way their heart beats. It's heady.
For sure. For sure. But I don't know. It's a long time to be pregnant.
Yeah, it is. Okay. I won't keep you too much longer.
Okay.
Tell me a fun conspiracy. Tell me a fun rabbit hole.
A fun rabbit hole.
What are you getting into nerdy right now? Is there anything you've geeked out about of recent that you didn't know before? Like I just found out in the last 2 days when Kamala Harris did a thing in the middle of the night that Singapore wasn't China.
Okay, so this is very brief in nature, but I thought it was interesting that you let me know the other night that Kamala was having like a press conference at like 12:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which was strange. And then she was over there, and her plane's departure from Singapore was delayed for an unknown reason, unclear how long she will remain in Singapore. And then there was an update that stated that her flight from Singapore was delayed by 3 hours because of a quote anomalous health event, and then in parentheses it said Havana syndrome. And so I'd heard about Havana syndrome before, and the story goes that in late 2016 there were some deployed diplomats in Havana that heard a loud piercing sound at night and felt intense pressure in their face. Pain, nausea, and dizziness followed. While the sound stopped eventually, some people complained of continued pain and dizziness along with trouble concentrating. The symptoms also included hearing strange grating noises, headache, hearing loss, memory loss, and nausea. And this is likely caused by directed microwaves into like an area where certain people will be. And that kind of goes into like the CIA death ray gun that we've heard about. kind of goes into the discussion about Hillary, owning the patent that like the whatever takes down planes and vehicles and stuff like that messes with their boxes. But I just thought that was an interesting thing to come out. So who would be employing like sonic microwaves at Kamala in Singapore? If you think of like all the factions that exist in the world.
Or why would they tell us?
Right.
That's where, because it reminded me of Bush when he threw up in the prime minister's lap. All of a sudden he was fine, and then he just got this weird thing, and then he just keeled over, and he looked dead. He looked dead, like all the people get around him. Or Isaac Cappy with the voice of God. That kind of weird shit, I'm like, I don't know. But the fact that they said Havana syndrome, and then everything with Cuba, how many weeks before?
Right. It's interesting. That's just something I saw today that I was just like, what is truly going on here?
I always love your digs. And I like how there are digs everywhere. I like that you don't have cement shoes. You're not trying to make a religion, and you're not trying to follow a religion. You're just trying to get people to question every single thing. And I think you do it with like humor. And it's all sorts of stuff, from like timeline shit to QAnon shit. Like if it's relevant, you're going to talk about it, and you don't have a bias either way.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that you see my humor, because I think I'm hilarious.
I think you're really hidden funny. And I mean, I know you're not hidden funny. I see it on your thing, but I think there's like layers of jokes that I see you write sometimes where it's
People
like,
just don't
okay,
get
this
it.
is funny and this is funny, but then it's also, this is really clever. And sometimes you circle back around. Like you do comic stuff. You kind of write like a comic. It impresses my comedy club head and the dichotomy of words.
It's interesting though. I appreciate that compliment so much. Thank you. I had somebody that like got under my skin a little bit this week, talking about how like I posted something questioning Trump's on the vaccine, and somebody gave me this little comment that was like, you can't be a part of this community and question 45 and 17 at the same time. Like you have to be on the same road. So naturally, like I screenshot that and posted it, and I was like, this is everything that's wrong with our community. And then I got a DM from somebody that was just like, well, you may be right, but like the sentiment is still the same. Like there's a whole group of us that are so disappointed in you, and like how your message changed, and like that you're no longer optimistic, and that you talk this way and that you talk that way. And I was just like, you're disappointed in like my growth? Like the world changed. Like the swamp was not drained the way that we thought it was. And he was like, yeah, you something like that you gave up on us. And I was like, dude, I had my line in the sand. I kept pushing my goalpost. I had a final date. I said, after this date, I can't do it anymore. And I'm just trying to be more and more objective. And it like bothered me for a little bit, and then I let it go. Because I don't need to let other people's energy affect me like that. But it's just so funny to me, like, that people, my page is what it is. It's this extension of my brain and, like, all the things that I'm thinking about all the time. And to, like, create expectations in, like, someone that you follow online, and then to, like, convey to them that, like, you disappoint me when you don't meet the expectations that, like, I want from you. That's a weird part of the thing that we do here.
It is a part that we don't get to really talk about so much, is the expectations of fans and your point of view. And, like when Trump over the last week, I just can't. I can stick up for him in so many ways, but I'm so anti-vax before this vaccine. I'm anti-vax, all the vax. And so I don't understand how we stick up for him in these things. I don't understand. Why repeat it? He can stay away from it at all.
To the Bible. the same people that say that you can't question the Bible are the same people that are saying that you cannot question Trump. And people, I love Q. I am a devout day one Q follower. Open the door to this entire life that I have now. But you have to talk about the similarities and the way that the voice of Q changed at one point, in my opinion, from a binary person, or excuse me, a binary entity, to the voice that it had when it concluded, that was trust this and God this and Christ this and all of these religious references that Q and Jesus and God are very similar, that you're believing in this thing that you have to have faith in, and this white knight's going to come in and save you, and it might take 2,000 years for the guy to come back, but you got to have faith because he loves you, and this and that, and pride and faith and God and all these different things. And there's a reason why Q was written that way. A reason, I mean, it was targeted to a very specific audience. And if you can't have that discussion with me, then like you're not as woke as you thought you were. Doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with it per se, but like there definitely is a psyop behind it, a reason why it was written that way, a reason why you identify with it so much, and a reason why you find Q to be infallible, and you find Trump to be infallible, and you find Jesus in the Bible to be infallible as well.
Yeah. You have to be able to question every single idol that you have in front of you. Like, I mean, I think that is probably one of the big, huge things of Christianity is with the false idols, and how many of them have the Christians put in front of themselves that they're kind of needing all these other golden calves or golden cues. I'm a huge, more so just with the anon of it all. And I think there was a lot of truth written in those things, just the same as there's a lot of conspiracies written about in the QAnon book, the book of Q. There's like a lot of stuff going on, but we have to be able to question. And, you definitely can't be a person sitting there with on your hands waiting for daddy to come and save you. That is.
And like there's nobody out there right now that's pure white. So we got to see the people that we look at in positions of power on our side of the aisle, and know that like there are factions behind each of those people, and they're not infallible, and they could be bought, and things could happen, and they could act in their self-interest. So, Trump did a lot of great things, a lot of good things. I don't really know that he did a lot of great things, but just because he did something good in the past doesn't necessarily mean he's going to do something good every single day in the future. And that's that's the thing about Q too. Most people operate under this assumption that like there's going to be this like massive event where the drain is completely, or the swamp is completely drained, and then it's like we've won and we're going down like the yellow brick road into you know what I mean, like into happiness, and everything's going to be great after that. That's never going to happen. There's always going to be an enemy. There's always going to be somebody trying to, take power back. The factions will always exist. So those same factions are going to be trying to recruit people from your side of the aisle for the rest of time.
If you forget how to question people, like let's say Q and Trump, and all of it's 100% true, and everybody dances off down the yellow brick road, and we forget how to ask these questions, and we forget that evil existed, and we forget, and we forget, and we forget, like the feel good, that will last 20 years minimum. 20 years or maximum, I should say, before everybody.
Be a generation, so it'll be about 25 years. And then it'll be accepted for an additional generation. And then the generation after that will probably start to question things. Kind of very similar to the situation that we're in now, that our grandparents allowed things like the New Deal and stuff like that, these like socialistic things to be implemented into existence. And it was good at the time, and it benefited them at the time, and they enjoyed it. And then our parents came along and they tolerated it. And now here we are, this third generation, finally doing something about it.
So even if Q is real, we still have to do shit. We're still going to have work to do.
Even if Q is real, and even if everything's going to happen the way it was supposed to happen, it will still take decades to achieve the things that we want to achieve.
And we have to take part.
Right. Like, the end is not orchestrated for us.
Nobody wants to do politics. Everybody I've talked to, like, I'm sure people have, said it to you. You say it's been like a goal of yours, like, which usually people in law, they have it somewhere. But there's a lot of other people that like speak on mics like we do, or they're yakking it up at their city halls. And when they're approached and everyone's like, okay, you should do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to get into politics. It's so fucking dirty. I don't want everyone dragging me through the mud and having to do all that. But that's the problem. Like, we all have to get dirty a little bit in the politics of it.
That's why I will be president one day, just so I can dismantle it all.
Dismantle it from the inside out?
Yes.
That's your platform?
Ultimate goal. Let's dismantle the government together. All for one and one for all.
Let's dismantle the government together. Where we go one, we go all.
Where we go one, we go all. Exactly.
That's what you're here to tell us today. That's why I brought you here. I knew I'd get you back around with us.
Come join me in my fireside chat. I would literally talk to the American people every day and be like, listen, I cut all the funding to Israel today.
And everyone would be like, you should be like, and I'm going to open up a chat room and you guys can post it and I'll answer your questions right now. It'd be a fireside chat, just like a live on Instagram.
Exactly.
You're thinking of all these really clever things to say. Like, you already know what you're like, I already felt what you were going to say. And then you're like, I'm not going to say it. I'll just laugh. Because you were picturing the things being said in your fireside chat as you were trying to run the country.
Like, let me tell you how terrible the executive order is, how it's such a breach of this, that, and the other, but we're going to use it to dismantle the government. Watch me do it together.
The very last executive order I sign will be taking away the rights of executive order for the president.
Exactly. Forever.
I like it. All right. Well, we've talked about everything now, from taking over the world to you being able to rub one out on yourself.
Ooh, baby.
If this doesn't change the world, I don't know what will. Do you have anything else you want to leave anyone with? We won't talk about Code Monkey.
Ron is Q. Let's just call it the spade is spade. I think Q is just something that was... I'm going into
Doesn't Ron feel good to be okay as a part of the Q team at this point? Aren't we all kind of okay with it? Like, Ron's part of the Q team.
And I think we all kind of thought it this whole time, But I think Q... this is my... Okay, I'll leave you with this final thought. This is my new opinion on Q.
Okay.
Q is just kind of a pay-for-play, in my opinion. It was Tyler... And it was a failed attempt at Tyler, just like Anonymous was, to change the world. And then when Tyler stopped, I think that the Watkins harnessed it. And then I think Bannon and Trump used it the way that Ron said. I think that Jim and Ron are using it for Trump now. I think Trump is communicating to us through it. I think it was a multitude of things happening all at one time. That using the quantum supercomputer that somebody has access to, they were able to build that all in together. But I don't think it's one thing anymore.
I don't think so either. And I also I've been a person that's always been a team. I never understood why it was such a crazy thing to stay with Steve Bannon ever, and to think Ron was part of it, and to think Jim was part of it, and to think Trump was part of it, and to think Flynn was part of it. And I always thought it was a team of people. So if any of those people that everyone thought were Q were kind of mentioned, I was always kind of on board with being like, yeah, that was one of the people that I thought was Q. So
we always talked about a Q team the whole time. And now when we come down to the brass tacks of it all, it's like such a different discussion.
And Ron, actually, he's like him with the Mike Lindell, what he's telling everyone to pay attention to. I follow him on Telegram. he feels okay to me to be Q. Like everything about
Right.
it seems like he's up there with that.
Like one of those little kangaroo bitches was like pulling up some stuff on Twitter about me 2 days ago, just like talking about me and Ron, because I guess it was like a slow news day for them. And so I like retweeted it and like called them, like I was like, remember when you guys like literally doxed me for like communicating somebody else's idea about Q, which has not been really disproven at this point. But somebody said something like, why can't you just fully admit that like Ron played you and like Bannon and Q were like Bannon, Trump, and Q were never involved. I was just like, first off, it's part of the discussion, not the entire discussion. Bannon, Trump, and Q, but like, okay, so let's say that Ron did play me. Ron picked me out of all the people in the world to like play on like 2 podcasts and a upcoming third one. Like, why? Why would he do that? That
Yeah.
makes no sense to like proffer that message to me. And then if we are right and he is Q, then like, okay, Q picked me to like do 2 podcasts with me before he did things with anyone else. Like, that's pretty fucking cool. Why can't we just call that spade a spade?
Ron's definitely, he has to be with the 8chan of it all, part of it. Like he has to be, even if it's in the small scale. And knowing what I know about Jim and just his politics, and he's an odd dude. I just don't I mean, the guy's smart enough to have pulled it off. I always felt like the right conspiracy theorist with the right computer know-how could have done that.
Well, I mean, okay, let's say that my theory is right and Tyler stops communicating. I mean, so then you just choose to be the writer. Remember all the times that the trip code changed? You know?
Yeah.
Like, you just decide to be a writer and then you become Q. Like, it's really not that difficult. Theoretically, it could
It's
be
almost like
anyone.
you're just a person you stumbled into Oz and you found a machine and you started talking in it and you're like, holy shit, everybody thinks I'm the Wizard of Oz. Like they think I'm in
Right.
this big face.
And you're catfishing the world, essentially.
And the
But
hackers
then
of
you
it all,
start
yeah.
doing that. Then you're Ron and Jim, and you start acting like Q, and then you contact people like Trump and Bannon and all these people saying, "Hi, we have this way to communicate. Like, look at this. Look what it did. Look at this following it garnered. Look what the people want. You've been preaching X, Y. I mean, I don't know. That's what it seems like to me. It's like they got behind it when the AI stopped, and
honestly, for you, nothing would make you happier to eat your fucking words about all this.
oh,
Like that's what I
I'd love
know
to be
about
wrong.
you more than anyone is like your brain is fully black pilled. Your scorpion loves the ooze of reality and you will break your heart with it all the time. But deep, deep,
Exactly.
deep down,
I
you
want
would
someone to save me.
you're like, please God, like I will pray and eat red pills all the time. Like prove me wrong.
Come be my alpha daddy and save me. That's all I'm asking on like every level of my life these days.
She's like, as above, so below. Is there a Trump out there to save me and us all?
save me and us all. Oh my god, I'm crying. That's amazing.
All right. Tell everyone where to find MyMaria777.
Well, I am there on Instagram and Twitter. I'm currently really, really shadow banned on Instagram, so I'm not posting. I'm trying to like do a week-long reset. So you can find me on my backup. It's called The Oracle 333. Find my podcast, MyMaria777, on all major applications except for Spotify, where I am banned. Find my exclusive dating podcast, Mating in the Matrix, on Patreon. And yeah, sign up for my email list, MyMaria777.com.
Oh, well, you're so fucking awesome for hanging out with me again. And yeah, I will probably be harassing you again for episode 47.
Well, you'll be back on mine before that. We have some weird shit to talk about. But If you made it this far, Lord, we talked about a lot of sex. You know a lot about me and Chaney now.
I know. We didn't get too detailed, but we got a little detailed. I actually have been trying to work on that. I get told I'm not really forthcoming. Like I ask a lot of questions and I have a way about answering things where I skate the surface of myself and move on.
Right.
I forgot to ask you that. I was wondering if that is a Scorpio trait, a lawyer trait, or what's that all about? Because you're good at doing it too, at getting just as deep as you want to get and deflecting.
It's an art, to be quite honest, and I'm an artist.
I'm an artist of deflecting.
I think it's a Scorpio thing. It's definitely it's an inherent Scorpio thing that has been highly developed by my lawyering skills.
Is it protection?
Sometimes it's protection, but I'm an observer. So I love to sit back and just like let you reveal yourself to me. And it's honestly, it's kind of like the art of litigation. You know, when you're my adversary on the witness stand, like I'm going to ask you a leading question. So I ask the question in such a way that like your answer is only a yes or no. And I know the answer to the question before I ask it to you. So most of the time in real life, that's how I operate all the time. And I like ask people questions to kind of like reveal themselves to me.
If I dated you, would I be like, don't litigate me right now?
Oh, my ex-fiance used to say, don't cross-examine me. But I really detest that kind of rhetoric, to be quite honest. And I think it's like a really easy place for people to go with me when they don't want to like deal with themselves too deeply. So somebody will be like, take your lawyer hat off, or don't be so sassy. And
it's like the same as being like, are you on your period? It's the same kind of just like.
It should be like, you don't even understand why I'm asking you this question. I'm already I'm 5 chess moves ahead. So it's Scorpion, but it's lawyer Maria as well.
It's Scorpion, but then it's fine-tuned and trained.
Next level.
You've sharpened your weapons.
Next level. And I don't know, I wear my heart on my sleeve a lot, and it's not really done a lot for me. So I think my like shell's gotten harder and harder recently.
I don't know. I think it's like, you've been through it though in your life, in your short life, like even marriage and divorce and family and stuff like that all seems like heavy, especially emotional, to be like, okay, now I'm going to go do all this again, or even want to do all this again. So hard.
It's all neatly compartmentalized in the back of my brain.
Maybe that's your tattoo, a heart on your sleeve.
That's true. I got to get the 47, and I want to get a 777 on the back of my neck, really small. I don't know why. That's just what I feel.
You know, you're like, I don't know why. I don't know why I want a 777.
Well, I know I want a 777. I can't talk all about it, but why I want it there, it's just like something I imagine. I don't know.
It's naughty.
Yeah, for sure. I have one behind my ear, you know, so kind of ones I can't see, I guess.
Okay, I'm letting you go. Who knows where this will go next? I'll save it for next time.
It's just like you and me talking on the phone.
I know,
now.
I'll forget and then be like, oh shit.
Okay.
Love you back. Bye.
Bye.
So she has been Chaney, and now she's off to smoke a blunt. See you next Tuesday, you fucking cunts.